Javon Dexter is called the Chicago Bears' most underrated player heading into the 2025 season. Grady Jarrett also points out how he's stepping up as a leader so far in this offseason for the Chicago Bears. We'll talk about that. Kevin Byard's comments on Jaquan Brisker and how Dennis Adams plans on using Daniel Hardy in an interesting way. We're getting to all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And let's start off with this. Positive news. Gervon Dexter was called the Chicago Bears' most underrated player heading into the 2025 season, and I love hearing that, especially because of people like Darius trying to call out and say that Javon Dexter shouldn't be a starter and bull crap like that. Like, it's good to hear that Javon Dexter is really starting to turn some heads when it comes down to it, man. This one came from NFL.com that said this. Dexter started last season on a tear with 4 sacks and 10 QB hits in Chicago's first 5 games. He only recorded 1 sack and 9 QB hits in the final 10 games, though missing 2 contests due to a knee injury. To be fair, second-year pro didn't have much support on the Bears' defensive interior. Darius, do you hear that? Especially after fellow DT Andrew Billings suffered a season-ending injury in early November. But Ryan Poles fortified the D-line in free agency, adding Dayo Odeyingbo, Grady Jarrett, and the draft Shamar Turner. With the influx of talents, Dexter could be set to move around the front more as a more versatile weapon in the new defensive coordinator Dennis Allen's system. We already know that Javon Dexter showed a lot, right? I've gone over the stats over Javon Dexter, and yeah, while the QB hits and the sacks did drop off last year, the pressures stayed the same, right? He got better in those areas, and so it's not about with defensive tackles. It's not always having the huge high sack number. Now, it is a little concerning for sure to go off from such a hot start to the season to completely falling off, but to act like the overall impact of the defensive line, the lack of blitzing from the Chicago Bears didn't play a part into that. It's wild. It's crazy to do. And then when you factor in this, right, a guy like Grady Jarrett, who's coming to this team, he's already stepped up as a vocal leader. He talked about how Javon Dexter stepping up this year, saying this: "When I first signed with the team, you saw us down in Miami working out together. Javon Dexter put that together. He invited me. I thought that was a big gesture for him to invite me to hang out with them, spend some time working out on our craft. I was able to meet with him, Montez, before I came into the building. I think he's been good for our relationship even before we got in the building, and that just showed his willingness to try to take that next step." When we saw that, a lot of people, I think even us, credited Grady Jarrett for putting that together, right? So to hear now that it was actually Javon Dexter to put out those workouts together, to get that defensive line, to do some things outside of the normal OTAs and structured workouts and things like that, to get them to do that together, that is leadership, right? That's huge leadership. This is leadership for one that we credited like even Justin Fields for when he brought in, his wide receiver core to work out together when we initially acquired DJ Moore and things like that. So hearing that Javon Dexter stepped up and reached out to a veteran who is definitely going to help make the game easier on him and hopefully vice versa, right? That does show that next step maybe in the leadership outside of that, right? When it comes down to it. Javon Dexter is now the longest tenured Chicago Bear defensive lineman. Just look at that. But put that into perspective for you, right? When he was selected 53rd overall, it was a time where a lot of the Bears fans wanted to see the Bears go after Javon Carter, right? Like, it is what it is there. But I think when it came down to it, like, the Bears made their decision. And Javon Dexter and Darnell Wright for what they were able to trade for him and get him in here, I think it really shows a lot of what these young offensive and defensive linemen can be for the Chicago Bears. And you need and want to see Javon Dexter take up a next step. This is his second year now coming in as a starter, his third year overall in the league. And there's been a lot of change on that defensive line for him. But hopefully now, with the veterans that they've brought in there, the unique scheme that Dennis Allen's going to be bringing with a lot more blitz heavy, which is going to help it make it easier on the interior. And you got a big body like Dayo Odeyingbo out there on the outside. This Chicago Bears defensive line has a chance to really turn some heads when it comes down to it. And this is a new role, right? Grady Jarrett goes on to say this. You can see him in regards to Javon Dexter. You can see him, and you can see the work he's putting in the weight room away from the facility. He was here early. He spends extra time with coach. I think year 3 is such a critical time where you can take that big leap. You play some football, you get more comfortable, and now you can only apply things and really take the big step. I'm excited to see what happens with him. I think our styles complement each other well, and I can't wait to continue to go hunt with the guy. Go hunt. Like just sit on that phrase for a while. Go hunt, right? That's what you want to see your defensive line do. You want to see them go out there and hunt. That's what you want to do. You want to see them go out there and put opposing offenses, whether it be in the running game, whether it be passers, whatever it is, and make them feel it when you go out there and do it. So I think that's a big thing when it comes down to it, man. And you see this team continue to grow and develop. You added Shamar Turner as well here. I think that's a really good thing. The Bears defensive line coach as well, Sean Spencer, said this in regards to Javon Dexter. Right when the Bears drafted Shamar, the first FaceTime I got was one Javon Dexter. Coach, tell me about this guy. You know what I'm saying? Tell me about this guy. He wanted his number. He wants to connect with him. He said, we're going to grow together, work together, and we're going to get better together. That's just the type of person you're getting, and both of those guys are the same. I mean, when you hear this, now you've heard it from a coach, right? The position coach. You've heard it from one of his teammates, a player, and Grady Jarrett, a new one coming to this team. You're seeing all the leadership qualities there develop for Javon Dexter. Now you just got to see it out on the football field, right? You want to see that year 3 big leap for Javon Dexter. And that's one thing that even in Darius and his voicemail wasn't incorrect on. You do in year 3 want to see that big step. Now, I do disagree with Darius when he's like, well, regardless of whoever's on the offensive line, if he's really a dog, he'll put up the same numbers regardless. It's like, no, if you're playing out there with crap and piecemeal pieces, it's hard to give the same production when people can focus in on you. But this team needs leaders. And if you have young players stepping up in that leadership role, that shows even more as far as building that culture. That's a huge part. It's people who have been here, players who have been here the longest, that have grown here, that developed here, stepping into those leadership roles. That's what shows a lot as far as if you can build a culture here for that team, because you don't want always to have new people to come in and set a culture. It's great that Grady Jarrett's going to come in here and he's going to hold an expectation over his teammates on that defensive line. That's great to do. Make no mistake about it. But the people that have been here, you want those guys to come in here and already have something established. And it's difficult via what we've had here from the coaching staff and things like that from top to bottom over Javon Dexter's time here. But it's good to see that those right things are happening. Calling the coach and saying, tell me about this guy. Let me get his number so I can reach out for him over a guy that was drafted in your position group. That's leadership, right? For a guy like Grady Jarrett, a veteran in this league, to come in and say, hey, listen, he put that workout together. That wasn't me. That wasn't Montez Sweat, right? That wasn't these veteran guys. It was second-year starter, third-year guy, Gervon Dexter, to put that together because he understands what it's going to take for this defensive line to actually have an identity and to put people's ass in the dirt, right? So I love hearing that. That's the type of stuff that gets me hype about my football team, to hear things like that are happening, conversations like that are being had, and you're having people step up at the right time in leadership roles to get shit done. That's the important part of it. So let's hope that this continues. Let's hope that this is just a single step in the right direction to where Javon Dexter, health, knock on wood, you got to have all that and stuff together as well. But hopefully that Javon Dexter is ready this year to really make that leap and to be that guy that we're looking at on the defensive line and say, hey, listen, nah. This is a guy. I get it. Jalen Carter's had a great start to his career. Javon Dexter's been more up and down. But yeah, let's and again, it's not always to compare those two, but I think the combination between the two of Daniel of Wright and those things are there, right? Darnell Wright things are there. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Another member of that defensive line that is looking to step up the season that was a bit of a surprise last year was Daniel Hardy, right? And it seems like so far in training camp that the Chicago Bears are really kind of getting creative with Daniel Hardy, and I think that that's a good thing as well. We know that that Jack Sanborn's gone, right? The weak side linebackers is a strong side linebackers thing. We're trying to figure out what's going to happen with that one. But Ben Johnson spoke about Daniel Hardy and they're actually experimenting with him at linebacker, saying this. We're finding out. He's toggled a little bit between defensive line, and we're going to experiment with him a little bit with him the springtime and in training camp to see what it looks like dropping into coverage for us and what we're asking our linebackers to do. I do know that he's got some pass rush ability. He's shown that over his time here, and that's intriguing. But we're going to look to expand his skill set as well. I know that some people are going to take this and say, why are we doing this with a player that's a defensive lineman, right? I'm somebody, again, to go to Darius again, he's somebody who calls in and often talks about changing of the position of a player, right? And I'm always like, I don't know about that one. But it does show, I think, under Dennis Allen's system, how many defensive backs that he used. We've already talked about there are going to be times where Kyler's basically lined up as a linebacker, right? So to put your pass rushers in a position to be as a lineup as a linebacker, I think that's something we're going to consistently see under Dennis Allen's system, and that's going to be how you keep defenses honest, right? Because if you have a Daniel Hardy dropping back to linebacker, which they tried to do some with Dominique Robinson last year, but when you try to do that and utilize your weapons, that's really what Dennis Allen is trying to do by doing this. It's kind of similar to the concepts of the 12 personnel in offense on the offensive side of the ball. Finding ways to get your guys that can put pressure on quarterbacks and in the backfield in the NFL, finding ways to get those guys out there on the field together, that forces your teams to think. Now, if Daniel Hardy is going to line up in that, he is going to have some ability in coverage as well. And that's what it sounds like Ben Johnson is trying to, and Dennis Allen are trying to figure out, is how much of Dennis Allen can he bring you in those coverage scenarios. But if you have him there, it is what it is. There's going to be opportunities, there's going to be playing time, and there's going to be a lot of creative uses of the players that we have here. Now, I think that Ruben Hippolyte as well, as a player with his speed, he's going to be in that a lot if he's able to use that speed to get to the backfield and break some stuff up, put some pressure on some quarterbacks. But hearing that Dennis Allen, Ben Johnson are experimenting with getting their guys on the field, that's what you want. That's what I want, so to say. So, yeah, think outside the box there. There's no problem in that. No harm, no foul when it comes down to that. If it's not working, cool. You adjust from that. You move on if it's not working, and you find a different path. The Kyler Gordon there, the defensive backs there, that's something that Dennis Allen can go to. But to me, this says that there's talent on this team. And while, we talked about the defensive line rotation, and I've talked about many times how I do think that this coaching staff is more confident than Bears fans are right now in that defensive line rotation. I think that this shows that there's some serious talent they feel like that's here, that they're trying to figure out just how in the best way is to maximize on that talent and get these guys out here. And we'll see. We shall see. Listen, if it works, great. You're a genius. If it doesn't work, cool. You don't use it. Nobody will talk about it again unless you keep trying to use it when it's not working. And then at that point, it can bring some things out. But I think that linebacker battle, right, and how you use that third linebacker, even though we use a base 4-3, but it's not going to be a traditional base 4-3. The way that you use that third linebacker, you're going to see Kyler. You're going to see some of even Terrell Smith out there. You're going to see Ruben Hippolyte get a chance. You're going to see Noah Sewell get a chance in training camp and in preseason. And this really opens the door to Daniel Hardy, maybe even Austin Booker at some point, who we've seen kind of line up at D tackle sometimes. You can see that. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for guys here to earn kind of less traditional roles, but still be contributors to this Bears team. And that's the right thing to do. Find ways to get your playmakers on the field. The same way that Ben Johnson on the offensive side is going to be trying to find ways to get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. Dennis Allen's going to try to find the ways to get those playmakers on the field so they can make the type of plays that they need. And again, that keeps defenses really honest. If you have a Daniel Hardy who has shown that ability to get to the quarterback and you have him out there and you see him, that's going to make teams, all right, is he blitzing? Is he going to drop back in coverage? Am I going to try to pick at him in coverage because I doubt what he can do in coverage? And then maybe he has the opportunity to show his growth there, right? So those are all things that are really good. And I've said this many times, and I really want people to understand this. What we're bringing with Dennis Allen is somebody who is just as creative. Everything that you've seen about Ben Johnson and the creative ways that he calls offenses, the creative ways that he gets people involved, you can say the exact same stuff about Dennis Allen on the defensive side of the ball. That's why getting Dennis Allen here was such an exciting prospect for us here at Chicago Bears Central, because he brings that creativity. He brings that mindset to the defensive side of the ball, that he thinks outside the box without it being gimmicky, right? That's the thing. People can do things and it seems like a gimmick, and then you're like, just like, this doesn't feel organic. It's not that with Dennis Allen. It's not about it being a gimmick. It's about it being, hey, this gives us a competitive advantage in the X's and O's aspect of football. We're going to explore that advantage and use it to put our opponents in a place where now you got to think. Now you got to wonder, what the hell are the Chicago Bears about to do? And if they're doing something that we're not expected, do you cause them to make mistakes? Getting those turnovers, getting those takeaways, putting yourself in a position where you're fighting hard, fighting tough. That's what this Bears team is trying to do. And I, for one, am super excited to see what this team looks like coming into training camp, into preseason, because I think, and they're not going to show the full playbook, but I think we're going to have some very big creativity on our hands here with the Chicago Bears this year. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Another defensive player that everybody's kind of questioning what the future is, and it's a big one, and that's Jaquan Brisker, right? Jaquan Brisker, who's had his season cut short with concussions, unfortunately, and probably if it wasn't for the concussions last year, probably would have gotten a contract extension right there with his draft mate in Kyler Gordon. But the Bears, rightfully so, have some questions about his long-term health, things like that, and that's going to put you in a position where you're kind of working it out. But Kevin Byard talked about Jaquan Brisker and his return to the football field. He said this: "It was fun. I think just the whole ordeal last year with him and the concussions from a player and a brother, looking at him, seeing what he went through, I know that was tough for him. He's excited. I'm excited to be able to get him back out there. I know he has a lot of plays that he wants us to go out there and make this year. I'm excited to watch him do it." This is the final year of Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard's contracts, for that matter. Kevin Byard, who's already talked about the potential of signing a contract extension here with the Chicago Bears. Jaquan Brisker is a guy that if you knew he was going to be healthy, if somebody could tell you Jaquan Brisker is going to play 90 to 95% of the games for the rest of his career, you take that, right? You would re-sign that player. But in fairness, there's a big question about his health. How healthy is he going to be able to stay? How much is he going to be able to stay on the football field for this team? All those questions exist, right? And with Jaquan Brisker and the physical style that he likes to play with, you know, it runs a lot of risk and concerns for the concussion history that he's had here. This is a big season for Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard, for that matter. If they're able to get this together, I think that's what's going to turn the tides here for this Bears team. This secondary has a chance to be special. We had the chance last year. It didn't happen, but we have a huge chance to be very special this year. Do we take advantage of that? That's the question that Chicago Bears have to ask themselves, and that's what we'll end up seeing, man. Overall, let's see what happens here. And if the Bears do, if they do get a healthy season from Jaquan Brisker, great. Like, I want to see Jaquan Brisker play no less than 15 games this year. No less than 15 games. You play 15 games this year, I think there's a good chance that you're going to get a contract extension. It's probably not going to be as long as some of the other guys, but Jaquan and his agency are going to have to make a decision on what they want to do there, but we'll see there. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Let's get into a voicemail we got today. This one is from Darius.
What's going on, guys? Darius from Dallas. I just had to call in and shut down Hayes' position switches like he always does mine. Explain to me, Hayes, how you want to switch. You don't like position switches, but you want to put the most concussed player on our team at fullback? Really? You want to switch the most concussed player other than Jaquan Brisker? We're gonna put the most concussed player on our team who has constant injury issues at fullback so that he can get in here and bang his head around with defensive linemen. Okay, do that if you want. By week 2, he'll be on IR. That does not make sense, bro. I mean, I love Roshan and his ability to catch out of the backfield. I do think he's a good blocker, but to put him in there at fullback, bro, and you're going to let him just square up with middle linebackers running full speed in the gap and big old 300-pound defensive linemen when he already got concussion problems and wearing a goddamn Guardian cap? Come on, man. Don't make no goddamn sense. But I'd add one more thing that I wanted to run by y'all, man, because, this might be a little I might also have a dumb take here. What do y'all think about just bringing Keenan Allen back? Now, when I say bring him back, of course, I'm not talking about making him a primary part of the offense or anything like that. I'm talking about just using him in short running downs, because he's a good run blocker. Use him in short yardage running downs, and then using him in the red zone. And that's it. Just using him for that. I think you go down there and you're in the red zone and you got to defend Keenan Allen. You got to defend big old Colston Loveland. Then you got DJ. Then you got Cole. Like that would be a very hard. You can't come at us with a small backfield. You'll get dominated in the red zone every time. You better have you some 6-foot cornerbacks. But I just thought about that, man. Just bringing him in. He ain't got nobody, beating down his door to get him signed anyway. Bring him in on a veteran minimum worst case scenario, and he gets to be a part of an exciting offense, an exciting process, and he can kind of mentor some guys. And he's a good run blocker, man. For his, for even at his age, he's still a good run blocker. So if we can use him for them short yardage, run plays, and like I say, red zone, just kind of pulling out all the stops and making sure that no matter what happens, injuries, all that be damned, we're still going to be okay. But let me know what y'all think. Texas up there now.
This is where I get happy because now I get to cook. Now I know in Texas, not everybody, y'all don't have access to the best education. And again, this is my brother Darius. We're going to throw some fun at each other. Don't anybody get their panties in a twist. This is me and Darius. But I know the education in Texas isn't that bad. First of all, you are so busy sometimes talking that you don't fully listen to what's said. I said play him at fullback in some lineups. Some. And the things that you talk about, him having to block, that's already the best skill set. He's already going to be blocking some linebackers because that's what he's in there. Usually he's in there to block for the quarterback and to stay in there and to have the fear of going to the passing game. There's sometimes, and I've said this before, I love that you leave so many voicemails, but sometimes you just say shit without really listening to what's said, and then you sit there and you blah, blah, blah. That's basically what most of your voicemail is in there. Nobody said play him at fullback every single down. The Bears don't even run fullbacks at every single down. I said in some lineups when you want to get creative and keep the defense on their heels, you can line him up there with one of the halfbacks to keep the defense honest. Darius, if you're going to respond to something, make sure that you're actually responding to what I said, not what your Texas brain has cooked up so you can have a response back. How about you do that, Playboy? How about you do that first of all? And secondly, like I said, all the things that you mentioned are things that he's already going to have to do. If he can't stand up and do that, if he can't guard, if he can't stay that without staying concussed, then his ass is going to have to get up off the team. That's period, point blank. I didn't think that was rocket science, but apparently for Texans, you got to dumb things down so they can make sure that you say it slow. So let me say it slow for you. Hold on, Darius. So the reason I specifically said there, brother, that you have that in specific lineups, when you want to keep the defense honest, especially in 12-man personnel, especially when you have Colston Loveland out there, when you have Luther Burden out there, you put Roschon Johnson in at fullback. You have one of your running backs, whether it's Swift or another one, right there behind him, and then you spread out the defense. The defense then has to play you. To be honest, you would think for somebody who wants to talk X's and O's, you would understand schematic schemes. But then again, like I said, I can only expect so much from people from Dallas. So that's the first thing. Secondly, that's not a full position switch. That's a lineup switch, but it's not a full anyway. And then you follow it up by saying bring in Keenan Allen back. What for in this offense? What for in it? What for in this offense? We've already upgraded our run blocking considerably, right? Our pass blocking considerably. We've already done that. Keenan Allen at this point, what, you're going to play him before Luther Burden? Do you really want to do that for your rookie that you brought in who's perfect for the slot? You want to play him before Rome Odunze? No. What? Darius, first of all, bro, go and get you some tequila, bro. Go and get you some tequila. Cross that border. Go get some actual tequila. It may help your brain get a little bit more function in, a little bit more breath in it, and then you may be okay. But all right, that's my time for today. Make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.